Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Satan and Coffee. I'm, of course, Atius Dade, and it's been a while since we've actually given this a proper introduction as we normally do, but I kind of forgot about it. But I think Sundays should always start the same, and so, as such, we reject the Trinity, we reject the baptism of John, we reject the baptism of the Spirit. Hail thyself. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, 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 welcome. It's good to see everybody here. So, yeah, let's see here. Peter White, hi from New Zealand. It's 5 a.m. Well, I appreciate the dedication, brother. Holy shit. 5 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. I can't think of many things outside of my job that drag my ass out of bed at fucking 5 o'clock in the morning, let alone a podcast. But I appreciate it. Dr. Dino, I've been lurking for a bit, and hi. I mean, yet to have coffee. Well, get you some. I'm about 3/4 of the way through. Might need another one. But yeah, I've been lurking for a bit. Well, I'm trying to get into the habit of pre-setting up the streams before I go live, so that way you guys have an idea of what's going to be talked about before we get into it. So, you know, mute that right there. Let's pause the music. There we go. So this morning, the power of the Pact. It's a bit misleading, the title, to be completely honest, because we're not talking about making pacts. Actually, we're talking about the pact with the self, is what we're going to be talking about. So if you guys thought we were going to be talking about, actually making a pact with something, that'll be next episode, actually. But today, what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about the pact with the self, right? Oh, well, we're already losing people. I said we're not talking about making pacts with other things. People, gone. So, I actually posted. There's a text post in the post section regarding this. So I wanted to kind of give a little bit of a text background, on what it is that I'm going to be talking about, because it's something I've kind of allured to and kind of mentioned here and there, but I've never really kind of gotten into it 100%. So we've spent years talking about the demonic, the infernal currents, the names, Lucifer, Belial, Lilith, Samael, Baphomet. We've dissected, the ancient grimoires like surgeons in search of divine corpses. But somewhere between invocation and incantation, something went missing. Why did we even come to this path? Was it to serve again, to kneel again? I would say no. No. We came here because every faith we knew before demanded surrender. And we finally said no. The irony here is a lot of us, at least from what I've noticed in the occult community as of late, probably the last year or two, is we've traded one hierarchy for another, right? From Christian Abrahamic to, another one with the new name that we give it. This modern trend of, occultists treating demons like saviors, or the famous one that I came up with, Pokemon, right? The Goetia-mon, right? Got to catch them all, right? Rather than allies. You always love the intro music. I try to keep it interesting. I've been getting a little lazy about cutting it out afterwards, because I usually play a lot of copyrighted shit during the live, and then afterwards I cut it out but like because I let the intro run, I love Goetia. After like the live, like I'll have to go in and I let it run for like 10 fucking minutes. So then like I have to go in and like cut out the first 10 minutes of the show. Just so I don't lose the monetization on the episode. So, but I'm glad you enjoy the music. So, gotta summon them all, right? Yeah, exactly. So there's this idea of like treating the infernal like I said, like saviors, or something to kind of like to kneel to all the time. And I'm not against worship. I like to use the term myself: worship, reverence, things of that nature. But what I would like to do today is I'd like to try to reassert the left-hand path, in the sense that the left-hand path specifically is autonomy first. It is not switching one altar to kneel in front of for another, because if you think about it, our altars are altar. Would you like a bacon sandwich? Yes, of course. I would absolutely love a bacon sandwich. Right? That is absolutely amazing. People in the chat are gonna say that I'm pressing you now because you're making me a bacon sandwich. Right? I'm oppressing you now. So if only you had an amazing person to make you a bacon sandwich. Well, bacon equals love. She is the one. Yes, babe. Yes. Alter, good. No, Hearstman, you get your wife to make you one. So I do want to reassert that the left-hand path is specifically a path of autonomy first, right? Meaning your godhood is the temple, your body is the altar. The altars that we create, yes, we use sigils and we use, all of these things to represent the entities that we work with, that we worship, that we revere on our altars. But those altars are ever changing. Those altars are ever morphing. And more so than anything, the sigils that we put on the altar, I think the first thing to remember is that we should be using sigils as mirrors. Is that when you go into ritual for yourself, you can have the sigil of Lucifer on your altar, but that does not mean that the ritual is for Lucifer. That might mean that you want to reflect the benefits of Lucifer into your life. Or you might want to reflect the benefits of Belial into your life. Or whomever it is that you're working with, you want to reflect that power onto yourself. You want to reflect those privileges and abilities of understanding onto your own life. And it is a reflection of yourself and synchronizing and integrating those aspects of Lucifer, Belial, Lilith, Baphomet into your life, onto yourself, right? So if you came to the Infernal to find another father, you missed the point. Lucifer doesn't adopt, he awakens. And I've always felt that way. Now, I do want to make something clear here. So there is no confusion. I don't have an issue with saying, I will actually say in Luciferian prayer, Lucifer the Father, or Father Lucifer, but not in the sense of like an earthly father, right? The power of bacon compels you. Does it? Does it, Dave? Well, Actually, the bacon is pretty compelling. The bacon's significantly more compelling than Jesus. So I just figured put that one out there, right? But why we came to the occult, right? The flight from powerlessness is why we came to the occult, right? So emotional and spiritual delusionment with organized religion. I know that a lot of us have experienced this, the disillusionment with Christianity and, Catholicism. I'm sure for some, Judaism or even Islam have gone from those paths to, the left-hand path or to occultism in general. The trauma of learned helplessness in traditional faiths. Pray harder, suffer better, right? These are actual terms that are used in the occult, or not in the occult. Wow. Now, in Christianity, these are phrases that have been given to me, at least in Christianity, from my father, my biological father. Is that you need to pray harder or you need to suffer better. And it's like, wait, what? Are you serious right now? Pearls to swine. Exactly. And so for me, my separation from the Abrahamic theology, these are excuses. Yeah. My separation from Abrahamic theology was primarily because I was taught that I had no power, that if something good happened in my life, it was a blessing from God, and if something bad happened in my life, it was God's will. The belief or the understanding that it doesn't matter what I do, it doesn't matter what I say, it doesn't matter what I want, it doesn't matter how hard I try, that what is going to happen, and there's nothing that I can do to change it. And I feel like this was an ideology created to subdue and make submissive people that didn't have options so many years ago. That truly, it wasn't as easy as opening up an internet browser and looking for another job or going out and putting in an application. You were stuck where you were, and there was no getting around it. That's what it used to be. That's what life used to be. You go back to the 20s, the 30s, right? The 10s, right? No, I'm not talking about the 2000s, right? It's 1910, 1920, 19... Because some motherfucker going to watch this later on. Is he talking about 2025? No. There was a time when people didn't have options and they needed something to make themselves feel better about the fact that they didn't have any power over their lives, that they didn't have decisions that they could make, that they couldn't flip the script on everything and become rich or become powerful or become well known or have their voices heard. That was something that existed a long time ago. And unfortunately, Christianity, Catholicism continue to play that record over and over and over again, because even though the options are there, the options exist, your ability to change your life is there. You can wake up one morning and say, this is enough. I want to do things differently. You can do that today. The church wants you to stay on your knees for everything. They want you to give them your money. They want you to give them your power. And they want you to blissfully suffer in the sun while they stand in the shade and laugh at you. That is what they want. All of these faiths that exist in the Abrahamic triptych exist to take your power away from you, to make you feel as if you are a victim of this life and the only escape is heaven. The only place that you can go To escape the cruelty of this world is heaven. So you need to praise God, believe in Jesus, and stick your head up his ass. So in hopes that when you die, you were Christ-like enough to gain access to the pearly gates, to see your family that's being held hostage by God. That's what we ran away from. That's what we wanted to escape from. Because we didn't want to live our lives constantly preparing for what might come after this. Because there's nothing we can do to save ourselves here. And I am here to tell you, the Savior isn't coming. There is no second coming. Jesus isn't coming. And I'm sorry, I do not subscribe to the idea that Jesus was an actual fucking person. Because fact remains that there's one historian that ever talked about Christ, and that historian was proven to be lying. So during the time period, you got this guy running around turning fucking water into wine, walking on water, healing the sick, and no actual historians or historic record outside of the Bible has anything about him. I don't believe in Jesus. And that's another thing I'm kind of tired of. I'm tired of people incorporating Jesus into the occult. Those motherfuckers stole everything from us. Stop doing that. Like, I mean, do what you fuck you want to do, right, at the end of the day, but for me, stop doing it. Like, just stop. Like, no. I'm not going to bend my knee to Jesus. I'm not going to bend my knee to God. God doesn't exist. Not in the framework or idea that Christianity puts it. Never has. It's a system for control. Always has been. And the problem is what we're doing today in the occult is I feel like we're almost doing the same thing today. So many people can't do a ritual without invoking a spirit. They can't do a spell without calling on a god or a demon. You're sacrificing your power, people. You're doing it again. You're repeating history. You're making the occult Christianity just with satanic imagery. Like I've mentioned multiple times, and most of the time when I go into ritual, I'm not calling on anything. I use my own power. Because I have power. Because I am powerful. Because I do have the ability to manipulate the energies around me. And I've known this for a very long time. And here's the thing. I'm nobody special, so do you. Every single one of you. Every single one of you have the ability to do it. I'm nothing special. You have power in you. And you can use that power to manipulate the world around you, to move and bend the world around you. Stop sacrificing your power to gods and demons. Use them as reflections. I'm theistic, right? I'm not an atheistic practitioner. I am a theistic practitioner. I do believe that Lucifer is real. I do believe that Lilith is real. I do believe that Baphomet is real. I believe that these are real, true intelligences. These are things that we can communicate with, that we can commune with, that we can use to our benefit and our advantage. But when an entity responds, they do not respond to weakness, they respond to strength. They respond to someone that is ready to use their own power, to change their own life. When you go into ritual, you do not need a demon or a god before you. It's okay. Thank you. um, they are reflections of what we should be. Yes. I mean, they're reflections of what we already are. Like the thing is if you're putting Lucifer's sigil on your altar, you're already halfway there, right? I mean, I have them on my wrist in two ways. But does that mean that like I sacrifice my power to Lucifer and I say, Lucifer, do this for me? No, I don't. I'm going to do this. I want to do this. Give me the path that is the best way to do this. And you'll notice that the response you get when you go into ritual and you do ritual that way is so much more powerful. You get such a more substantial response. Because you're not sacrificing yourself to the altar. Because the self is the power, is the channel. You have the ability to do all of this. The occult has always been rebellion, self-rescue, saving yourself, because I promise you nobody's coming to save you. A lot of us have grown up with that idea. A lot of us grew up with that hope that somebody was going to come and save us. A lot of us grew up in really shitty homes, had really bad things happen to us. Something a lot of us have in common. And we really wanted someone, somewhere, to notice and put their hand out and help. And even when we thought they did, even when we thought somebody did reach out and did help, we got put into a system that maybe was better in some ways and worse in others. And we got lost in that system. We tried to find something. God didn't save us. He didn't give a shit. The state didn't care. Family didn't care. So we found a way to save ourselves. We found our footing. We found a way to stand up, to move. By recognizing our own power and our own ability. As humans, as people, we didn't need other people to see us. We saw ourselves. We don't need validation from outside of ourselves. We know we exist. We know we're here. We know we have power. We know we have ability. We know what we can do. It's funny how Christians always like to sit there and say that we need to be saved. Saved from what? Because when life is shit, God was nowhere to be found. Jesus was nowhere to be found. The preachers were nowhere to be found. Preachers, fuck, they make you feel worse. Like I said, you're not praying hard enough. You know, you're not suffering enough. You know, God waits until you're at rock bottom to show himself. What? So you're so weak and debilitated that you just fall into the need? That's when God shows up? when there's nothing left. Happen, but I wonder. Do creative work to a organization. Change their power and call. Why can't you do both? If you're talking about Christianity, the thing is that the power there's no wisdom there, and the only power that they have is the fact that they took everything that our ancestors believed in and then perverted the shit out of it to come up with some strange Frankenstein faith to make it easier for people to convert. As far as doing both, I mean, that's your will. I wouldn't. And I wouldn't give validation to the monster that is Christianity and Catholicism. And the thing is I've had so many people come around and say, well, that's just like, that's so, childish. It's, that you feel that way, that, that, Christianity, and, Catholicism, aren't, the enemy in this. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They always have been. They always have been. And the thing is it's right in front of your face. And it's always been in front of your face. It's all about the numbers to them. It's all about numbers. It's all about how many people are in the pews, how much money they're getting from people. And that's why we left. Not to incorporate it. Again, to sacrifice our power. And disciple, I mean, you put it there, Dionysus as an advisor to guide you. I'm not saying that you can't worship. Of course you can do both if you're talking about that aspect of it. Of course you can do both. Of course you can worship and then also believe in your own power. The problem is I'm talking about people that are going to extremes that think that they can't do things by themselves, that they need a god or a demon or an entity to be able to do anything. You are sacrificing your own power. Again, you're not believing in yourself. Why would you not want to believe in yourself? You have power. You do. Like it's not some mystical concept locked behind a door that you have to do 20 rituals and sacrifice 15 goats for. You live with it every day. You just hide from it. You're afraid of your own power. Stop being afraid of yourself. You don't need a god or a demon. Can you use them? Yes, of course. Use them. Call on them. Again, I'll reiterate the point. I am theistic. I believe that they exist. I believe that they are real. You can call on them. Just don't sacrifice your own power and think that if you do a ritual using your own ability, that it's not going to work, because I can promise you that it will. Half of the time when I do client work, I don't call on anything. I use my own power, my own ability, my own understanding of the occult sciences. I haven't had anyone complain yet. You need to believe in yourself, your own ability. What was the other? Gray asked, likely to happen. No, I don't think it would be a conflict of interest. I mean, if there's an organization that wanted to use my work or wanted me to make something for them, I would do so. I mean, I'm not trying to compete with any religious organizations. I'm just a commentator. That's all I am. So no, I mean, if there's somebody out there that, wants to use my shit or wants me to make something, then have them reach out, I guess. I mean, if that's what you're asking. Right? So we talked about kind of like where the church stands with all of this stuff and like why like the rebellion and the self-rescue, right? And then there's obviously the part of the seduction of the forbidden, right? How darkness becomes a mirror for authenticity, right? So there's a dark part that we become attracted to, right? We kind of pull ourselves over to it. It's kind of like we see that darkness, we see that contrast to what we're in. It's like, well, wait a minute, the darkness can be a good thing. And we begin to dig. We begin to learn. We begin to read. We begin to listen. And it's new. It tantalizes us. And the first things that we learn about the demons, we learn about the gods, we learn about the differentials, the different things that exist. But the biggest thing that we learn is we begin to learn about ourselves. We begin to learn about our own humanity. We begin to learn about who we are as people. The early Luciferian revelation is you are not powerless. You are simply untrained. When I first began walking this path, I wasn't searching for gods. I was searching for proof that I wasn't broken. The Infernal showed me I was never broken, just unbound. I just didn't have the direction. I just didn't, I thought, I was broken, that I wasn't worth anything, that, and the left-hand path showed me that, no, you're not broken. You have the ability to change where your life is. You have the ability to do all this. And not just by your decisions, magically. Not just by your choices. But by choosing yourself to find your own power, you begin to understand that you can extend that power out. You can change things. You can do things. Does it work all the time? No, it doesn't. That's a big thing to also understand, is like we also kind of look for kind of like a guarantee, right? And it is in that guarantee that we learn that there isn't one. Sometimes things aren't just meant to, like, just are meant not to happen. And we accept that. But we also accept our ability in changing the things that we are able to change. So what happens when freedom becomes another kind of cage? When invocation becomes dependency in disguise? So the reality of infernal intelligences is treating demons as autonomous forces, not metaphors. right? The psychological and spiritual growth through communion exists, but there's a difference between invocation, embodiment, and evocation, command. Right? The mirror function of theistic magic is how the spirit reflects the operator. Yeah, I figure after a few minutes, I got that, disciple. I got that. Elements of the left-hand path, right hand can coexist in one praxis. Exactly. Well, I mean, you need both hands, right? You need both. You need your left hand and your right hand, physically speaking. You can live without one, but makes it a lot easier when you got both. And in magic and in philosophy, it's very much the same way. I mean, I think left-hand path is like the one that has the most defined aspects to it because it's what we talk about the most, right? We don't really have a definition for right-hand path, like what exists with right-hand path. And the best way that I would know how to describe it is if we're talking about opposites, if that's what they are, right? Then it would look at if the left-hand path is self-empowerment, the right-hand path is giving that power away or trusting enough to trust in something above yourself to handle things for you to a certain degree. I mean, that's a oversimplification, right? If we're talking about opposites and does not do justice to the actual definition of what right-hand path would be. But I think both of those sides of things kind of coexist because sometimes curious against your own morals, fixed help. Christian churches, media, is that no? So yeah, that no. Like when you're saying like religious organization, man, like I'm thinking like like a universal church or something like that, like a something like that. You could do a Da Vinci with that. Yeah, I mean, possibly, but I mean, I don't know. It depends on kind of like what it is. Here's the thing, though, is like I would have to dress the part in order to get the role, and I won't do that. Like I won't, sacrifice any aspect of who I am. I think in the moment that I walk in with this, like it's, that's it. No, I'm sorry. See you later. We don't want to work with you. So. By churches, but there was very little symbolism he would include in the work that the church would overlook. It makes sense. Gnostic view, but it is not Christianity. The church and Christianity really hate them. Gnosticism was condemned as heresy by the early Christian church and later suppressed. Yes, very much so. I mean, gnosis, right? Not like gnosis is just knowledge, it's understanding. Anyone who annoys the church might be worth a read. Right? There you go. So, if you give just to give a case example, what I'm talking about here is invoking Lucifer for illumination and finding shadow work instead. Right? So this is kind of what I'm talking about. So, things that we need to do for ourselves, these entities, these intelligences can guide us to the work that needs to be done. And that's always something that needs to be understood in your own power, is that when you are in your own power, when you call on an entity to guide you, to give you direction, sometimes the direction that they give you is not the direction that you want. And it isn't about want, it's about need. It's about what you need to do, not what you want to do. Right? We call on for guidance when we don't know what we need to do. We know what we want to do. We know what we want to do all the time. We don't need, like, you don't need to call on Lucifer to show you what you want to do. You know what you want to do. But obviously there's a blockade there, something stopping you from getting to that point. So why would you call on Lucifer in this case? You call on Lucifer for the illumination, for the path, the direction, right? You call for illumination, you end up in shadow work because that's what you need to do, right? In order to get forward, to move forward, to integrate the parts of yourselves that are missing. I'm just irritated, I suppose, with the idea of just seeing so many people sacrificing who they are and their own power and their own ability, just like they're in church, in the occult, and that's just not what it's about, especially the left-hand path specifically. It's not about giving up who you are or giving up your power and not being able to do a ritual for yourself. I mean, if you think about it, you know, if any of you are active practitioners, when was the last time you did a ritual without calling on something? When was the last time you did a ritual with your own power, your own ability? For a lot of us, for a lot of people, it's probably been a while. It's like doing a financial rite with Marbus, then grandma dies. Yeah. Exactly. It's like, shit, that's not what I meant. You know, and if you work on your own ability, here's another thing too. Like if you work on your own power, let's use the money thing, because money's a big thing. Money and love seem to be like the biggest things that people like working the occult for, right? Yeah, grandma wanted to help. Money and love seem to be like the biggest things that people use the occult for, right? And especially people that don't fully understand the occult, like people that like will commission work, right? So I'm including them into this as well. So a lot of people will read like this demon or this god or this thing, you know, is good for money or for this or for love or whatever, for bringing a lover back, for finding new love, for getting a new job, for, you know, getting an inheritance faster, having a deal go through faster, whatever the case might be, right? Money and love are the two things in your life that you probably have the most control over. And it is the biggest thing that we continue to commission external entities for in our lives, which is fucking insane to me, right? If you want to find love, well, people aren't just going to fall into your lap. I mean, as much as people would probably love that to happen, right? Love isn't just going to fall into your lap. Like, love is work, right? Like I don't understand like why people's concept of love is this idea of like this fantastical idea of like a fairy tale, you know, of like happily ever after and shit like that. And like people don't look at the work that needs to go in to a relationship and what love actually is. A good friend of mine years ago, I will mention his name because I'm sure he won't mind. His name's Steve, right? Not Steve from Minecraft, just Steve. I say that because both of us are gaming nerds, or we were gaming nerds. And so, unless you're Santa, right? So he gave me this kind of like full philosophical kind of like overlay for love. And he's like, love isn't what gets you together. That's attraction. You can't love somebody you don't know. So it's attraction that gets you to someone, right? You're both attracted to each other. You know, love isn't what gets you dating. That's, you know, just the want and desire to learn more about the person. Love isn't what gets you to have sex. That's carnal desire. That's hormones. Love isn't even what gets you married. That's just political and spiritual preference. Right? I say political because it's become a political thing with sharing taxes and whatnot. Love is the ability to be so stressed and so upset with the person that you're with, but still be able to look at them and say, I cannot see my life with anyone else other than this person. A demon cannot give that to you, nor can a god. True, actual love cannot be given to you magically. It is something that is earned from both people. Love is an action, not an emotion. What most people want when they go in to magical work for love isn't love. They want lust. They want the beginning emotional context of a relationship, what they understand to be a relationship. Because most of the people that I believe that use magic to find love have not had a relationship that has lasted longer than 6 months to a year. Can direct you to a starting point, but the rest is on you and the other person. Correct. Or they want the idea of the person. Exactly. Love is one of the few things in life that you probably have the most control over, in the sense of where you spend your time, who you spend your time with, right? And then if that is reciprocated. And then the idea of making somebody else love you, again, it's like you can make someone lust after you. You can make someone obsessed with you, but that's not love. And that would never become love. Which is why most people that end up doing like obsession rituals for another person and stuff like that end up wanting it reversed. Want it reversed, 6 months later. Because it's not what they thought it was going to be. Already got succubuses for $19.99, right? And then money. The second most requested magical work. Oh my God, obsession reverse pissed me off. Yeah, right. With money, I think the part that irritates me the most about when people ask for money rituals is it's almost like they treat entities like genies, right? Like, I want $1 million. It's like, all right, well, you'll do a ritual for, $1 million, and then you get an idea to write maybe a book about something. And if you overlook that idea, nothing else happens. Again, the work needs to be done by you, right? You want money. Money's an earthly thing, right? It's not, a divine thing. It's not an ethereal thing, right? Money is tangible. Money is, this world, right? It is focused here. You don't need a demon or a god to get you money. You just need to do work, right? I mean, sometimes that's a job. Sometimes, it's one of the reasons why it always kind of like the whole concept of people like that are like, eat the rich. It's like, well, why are you jealous? Like I'm sorry. Like, and if this offends anyone, again, like hopefully like over the last week, you guys have realized I really don't give a shit if I piss people off. But if you're one of them people that are sitting there like, eat the rich, it's like, well, what the fuck are you jealous for? What are you jealous for? Like, billionaires shouldn't exist. Why the fuck not? Why not? Because you haven't had $1 billion idea? Because you're still working a 9-to-5, making somebody else's dreams come true? Why are you jealous? Because that's what that is. That's jealousy. Like, the same motherfuckers are sitting there doing fucking rituals that get fucking $1 million or bitching and complaining that billionaires exist. It's like, bitch, what the fuck? Like, stop being a jealous fucking cunt. Like, really? Right? Like, half of these motherfuckers can't even do math. Right? Like, I've seen some of these fucking videos, right? Like, somebody's like, motherfucker's got like, fuck, he's got like $10 billion. If he gave $1 billion to everybody, he'd still have $2 billion left over. It's like, dumbass, that's not how that works. If you have $8 billion and there are 8 billion people in the world, everybody gets $1. That's it. Oh, yeah, right. So stop being a jealous little fucking cunt. Like, because that's all you are, right? If you're one of the people that are like, eat the rich, they shouldn't exist, right? Stop being jealous. Oh, it doesn't look good on you. It doesn't look good. I promise, homie, it does not look good on you. Right? You know, what shouldn't exist? What shouldn't exist? Fucking government buyouts. That shouldn't exist. Right? In a true capitalist society, government buyouts should not exist. If a business fucks up and they're like Lockheed Martin, the amount of times that Lockheed Martin, because they're a government contractor, have fucked up on their finances and almost gone bankrupt, and the government goes in and here's a couple $2 billion so you don't die. That shouldn't exist. That should be, you know, if you fuck up on your finances, you come up with a product that sucks ass, and everybody starts going to your competitor. True capitalism is a consumer-based is a consumer-based system. True capitalism, right? It's a consumer-based system. Now, why am I talking about this? Because when we talk about at least people that live in a capitalist society, and we talk about making money, how do you make money? You make money. You find an idea, you build a business, you put the business out there, you put in the hours and the footwork for the advertising. You start selling your product or service. If your product or service is good, people will buy it. You make money. Or you get a job. This job doesn't pay me enough money. Find another one. Ask for a raise. Do a ritual around getting a raise. What do I need to do to be capable or in a position to ask for a raise? What do I have in my life that I can share with other people that can make me money, that I can monetize, that would give value to people, right? Because here's the thing. So many people fucking hate Jeff Bezos, but don't tell me that fucking Amazon isn't like fucking beneficial to so many people. Like, don't tell me that Amazon doesn't give value to your life. Next day delivery? Who doesn't like that? Come on. Right? The fact that there's anything and everything that you could want on Amazon, a click away. Tell me that doesn't provide value. Of course it does. Of course it does. Right? But people are going to get pissed off at a motherfucker because he had an amazing fucking idea and is super fucking rich. And they're like, nope, he shouldn't be rich. Billionaires shouldn't exist. Because you didn't have the idea. Sorry, you're a little late, but you know. I mean, Elon Musk is a little bit more questionable because, I mean, I think the biggest thing that he's offered to society, at least that I'm aware of, is Tesla. And, you know, a car that like is supposed to be something to save the environment, which it doesn't, by the way. Like, if you know how electric car batteries are fucking disposed of, it doesn't really help the environment at all, going electric. But, you know, they cost probably about the same amount as a fucking Porsche. So if I have a choice between a Porsche and a Tesla, I'm going to go with the Porsche or the Beamer. Sorry. You know, well, monopolies are dangerous, but the thing is like, you know, there are no monopolies. Monopolies don't exist. Like, The United States, at least specifically, has specific legislation against that, which is why you have, for example, I mean, it's a bit of a rumble, but you have Apple and you have Microsoft, right? Microsoft actually had to invest money into Apple to make sure that Apple didn't shut down so that there was competition, because if Apple ever shut down, Microsoft would be a monopoly, right? Amazon's not the only online market that you can go to buy things. There are other online markets that you can use. Different premises, perhaps, but same concept. eBay. Now, if we get down to the nitty gritty of it, we go down to like the parent companies, then we can probably start breaking it down to there being less choice. But that's not how monopoly works, right? So yes, monopolies are definitely dangerous. But there are no monopolies. They don't exist. Like, in its base form, there are none. But anyway, the point, we're not talking about that. We're talking about how to make money. The point being is that if you want to make money, if you want to do a ritual on making money, don't do the ritual on the money itself. Do a ritual about what it is that you can do to make money. What ideas do you have that you can give the rest of the world? What value can you give the rest of the world? It's about value. The value you provide. And the thing is, you have to value yourself before anyone else can value you. And this goes back right into your own power, right? How are you going to value your own power? Right? If you don't value your own power, how is anyone else going to value anything else about yourself? If you don't value it first. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. If you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to make money, don't ask Lucifer. Ask Gary V. I'm going to leave you with that. You don't need Lucifer. You don't need Belial. You don't need Marbus. You don't need Bune. You need Gary Vaynerchuk. Trust me. Couple hours listen to that motherfucker, you'll have a million ideas. Yes, this is, to be completely honest, like the Sunday one is a black mass. This is a black mass. Yes, this is. That is exactly what this is. Okay, everyone, I was planning on this going for a couple hours, but I am being beckoned, and I need to provide assistance for something. So I am going to leave it here. There's another hour of this, which we will get into maybe next Sunday. But I do hope that you guys found value in this, that you enjoyed it, that you had fun this morning. I love your fucking faces. You guys are the reason I fucking do this. And again, as we begin, we end. Yes. So we reject the Trinity. We reject the baptism of John. We reject the baptism of the Spirit. And as always, hail thy fucking self. I'll see you in the next one. Peace the fuck out, everybody.